Welcome, everyone. My name is Erin. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Student Recruitment Officer for UBC Engineering based on the Vancouver campus. I would like to acknowledge the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, which we work, learn, connect, and innovate, is the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Musqueam peoples. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of the lands that you're joining us from today.
So hi everyone, welcome to this UBC engineering presentation. My name is Marie Reed and I'm an engineering advisor from the UBC Okanagan campus. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm joining you today, like I said, from the Okanagan campus, which is located on the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation. So we are so excited for today's session. We're going to be covering lots of helpful information related to UBC engineering, and we'll also have time at the end to answer any of your questions using the Zoom Q&A, and this can be found at the bottom of your Zoom window. If you're already wondering and want to get those questions in, that's where you can find that. So first of all, thank you for joining and thank you for taking this first step to join one of Canada's top engineering schools. You've done the hard part already by applying to UBC Engineering. And while our UBC admissions team works to process your application, we wanted to share all of the exciting things coming up over the next few months for you. We hope that today will help you feel welcome in the UBC engineering community and provide opportunities for you to learn more about everything that we have to offer. So we have quite a few things on our agenda today that we're going to cover. We're going to start with a quick intro to UBC Engineering, and this is to help answer any questions that you might have, as well as share all the ways you can get connected with us, including our Engineering Stories team. And then we're going to have a student panel from the Okanagan and the Vancouver campus that's there to address some of the more general questions and to share some information about their student experience. And then lastly, you'll be able to ask your questions to our panel. So UBC is the most international university in North America, one of the top 40 schools in the world, and a top school in Canada. In fact, UBC Engineering was ranked as the #2 engineering program in Canada this year. So we're focused on continuing to improve our programs, our curriculum, our students, and the world around us. So why should you choose UBC Engineering? Well, from the very start of your degree, you're able to get exposed to hands-on design projects where you work in teams with other first-year students. You'll have courses year after year to build on those project-based team learning experiences. And then in your final year, you get to do something called your capstone design project. And this is where you and your peers actually get to work with industry or a research lab to solve real-world problems. We find that many students really love this capstone project. It really allows them to apply the knowledge that they've learned throughout their degrees and get that experience working with a company or a research lab. So later on in your degree, you can also start to customize your studies by choosing to pursue something called a minor or a dual degree. This is not something that you have to do, but it will allow you to have a secondary focus if you're interested in that. We also have other ways that you can specialize within our programs, and those are through things called options at the Vancouver campus or concentrations at the Okanagan campus. And these allow students to focus on areas such as aerospace, mechatronics, or biomedical, just to name a few of them that we offer. And they're available to further customize your degree again to really what you're looking for. And then later on in your degree, you can actually look into going on an international exchange or get paid work experience through things like the co-op program. I pass it over to you now, Erin.
Perfect. Thanks, Marie. So in addition to your academics, there are also so many other things to look forward to. You can be paid to work in a research lab. You can start your own research project and even present it in our multidisciplinary undergraduate research conference that takes place across UBC every year, featuring thousands and thousands of student research projects. However, if research isn't your thing, there are lots of other ways to get involved and explore your interests and find your community within UBC Engineering or across all of UBC's campus. At UBC, we have more than 400 campus-wide clubs. At the Vancouver campus, there are also over 30 design teams that enable students to work in teams, explore their interests, and gain hands-on experience right from their very first year. At the Okanagan campus, there are also so many design teams, clubs, and affiliated chapters to expand your network, find your community, and develop expertise in your field of study. All of our current students always tell me that their favorite part of UBC Engineering is the amazing community that you'll get to be a part of right from the time you enter UBC Engineering. You'll have support systems like our first year orientations and have the opportunity to get involved with so many different clubs, which is a great way to connect with your peers. Beyond design teams and the engineering undergrad societies, we also have our equity, diversity, inclusion, and indigeneity clubs, which are student-led groups that you can get involved in if you're part of an underrepresented community within engineering. At UBC Engineering, we're working to ensure that we can get more diversity within engineering. Why is that important? Well, increasing underrepresented populations in engineering make our teams more diverse, and more diverse teams mean that our students are better able to solve problems for the entire population, not just a fraction of it.
So now you might be wondering, like, how will I choose the program or the discipline that I'm interested in? So this is slightly different for both campuses. So we're going to start with the Vancouver campus. The Vancouver campus offers 14 engineering programs. You'll start in the foundational first year, and you'll go through the second year placement process at the end of your first year. The first year cohort at the Vancouver campus has about 1,000 students, and each program will have anywhere from 25 to about 200 students, depending on the program. The majority of the programs are going to be around 60 to 100 students per year level. So if you're entering year one, you're going to be supported through this second year placement process in your courses called AppSci 100 101. So these are courses you take throughout your first year. And they provide ways to ensure they provide advice for ways that you can ensure you receive your placement of choice. And these are things to keep in mind, such as keeping your grades up or, trying to get involved in related activities like design teams or hackathons. So if you're joining today and you're entering year two, you're going to get more information about how to submit your preference or your second year placement form this spring. So just a date to note is usually those second year placement forms, the deadline is around May 15th. So similar to the Vancouver campus, at the UBC Okanagan campus, students will start in a foundational first year, and then students will go through their second year placement process at the end of their first year. At the Okanagan campus, there are 5 programs and there are no caps on these 5 programs, which includes our new computer engineering program that's starting in September 2024. So what this means is that students are guaranteed a seat in your program of choice. So if you're entering year one in September, you're going to have many opportunities to learn about our programs through industry nights and a first year program fair. These types of events can help get your questions answered about which program is really right for you. And if you're joining today from year two, similar to Vancouver campus, you're going to get more information about submitting your preference or your second year placement form this spring. So please note, again, the deadline is around May 15th for this as well. So we're going to talk about next steps, and we do have students here from different year levels. So we're going to do our best to specifically mention information for your year level. This is going to be a very high level overview of next steps that you can look forward to. And so if you have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. So your first step once you get admitted is to accept your offer. So to accept your offer, you can do so in your student service center, and you pay your acceptance deposit that will be applied towards your first tuition payment in September. So the deadline for most students to accept their offer at the Vancouver campus is May 1st, and for students at the Okanagan campus, that is June 1st. But be sure that you check your admissions letter to make sure your deadline matches these. If you are an international student, you'll also need to apply for a study permit after March 31st. You'll apply for a provincial attestation and then use that and your offer letter to apply for your study permit. If you have any questions in this process, UBC has international student advisors that are registered immigration consultants to help you out. So the last deadline or item we want to talk about right now is coming up in the next few months, and it's to make sure that you apply for residence if this is something that you're interested in. So if you are an incoming first-year student at the Vancouver or at the Okanagan campus, UBC offers a first-year guarantee. So as long as you apply by May 1st and you're an incoming first-year student from high school, you'll be guaranteed a space in winter session residence. If you're an incoming student that does not qualify for first-year guarantee, we recommend you apply for residence as soon as possible. So at the Vancouver campus, there are two main types of residence. There's winter session, which offers housing from September to April and is the main option for first-year students. And then there is year-round residence, which is a year-long contract and is primarily for upper year students. In the Okanagan, there are two main types of residence, which is winter session, which offers housing from September to April for both incoming first year and returning students, and then something called summer residence, where students can apply for either a summer stay through, which you can continue your residence from the end of April to late August. And this is if you already have a current residence contract and want to stay over the summer. And then there's something called summer housing, which is from mid-May to mid-August. And this is for eligible students who do not currently live in residence, but would like to stay in residence over the summer. So I know that's a lot of information, so I'm going to pass it over to Erin now to wrap up this presentation.
Perfect. So I just wanted, before the end of our presentation, before we get to all of our current students that are here today, mention just a few resources for you to be aware of and ways for you to stay connected with us. So keep an eye out for any emails from UBC Engineering or coming from UBC as well. But there's lots of important information that will be shared with you over the next several months, and we'll also be letting you know about upcoming events like this one. So in our emails, we'll also often feature UBC Engineering ambassadors who you can start a chat with at any point in time. We have students from both campuses who have been on design teams, in co-op, on exchange programs, or probably have been involved in any other experience that you might be interested in. You can reach out to them to ask any questions that you have about the student experience. However, please note that they will not be able to answer questions about admissions, study permits, or your application itself. And all of our students joining us today are also student ambassadors, so you can definitely connect with them. Like I said, we'll also be emailing you about upcoming events. We have several events coming up over the next few months. For the international applicant event is coming up. That'll be a special opportunity for international applicants to speak with current international students. We have Changing the World, Engineering the Future, which is an event for women and gender nonconforming high school students to learn more about a career in engineering. The UBC Engineering Applicant event will be a chance for you to learn about all of your next steps, like things like course registration, hear from a variety of student panels, and really help you make that final decision. And then finally, for once you have accepted your offer, students at the Vancouver campus will be invited to the first year registration session, and it'll help teach you kind of some tips and tricks for registration, what you need to know coming up. But students from both campus will also get emails about course registration and what that looks like, so you'll be prepared about all of those pieces. The other piece I want to mention is engineering stories. I'm not going to spend too long on this because I actually do have Hannah here that's going to talk about that in just a second. But engineering stories is a really great way to get connected with our team. You can follow along to see what their life as an engineering student looks like. We're available on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So whatever your favorite social media platform is, you can use that to follow along with the team. Now, no matter what your interests are, there's so much to look forward to, and we're so happy to be able to welcome you to the UBC engineering community today. So thank you for listening to the presentation. I know that there's some Q&A questions that have come in. So any that are not focused on the student experience, we'll save towards the end of the presentation or provide links directly to your questions in the Q&A. But otherwise, if you're thinking of questions about the student experience, feel free to get those into the Q&A. We'll be coming up on the student panel very shortly. But first, I want to introduce Hannah to share a little bit more about her team, Engineering Stories, and how you can connect with them and what you can learn from following along.
Yeah, thanks, Erin. So my name's Hannah. I'm a fifth year biomedical engineering student at the UBC Vancouver campus with a specialization in computer science. I'm an executive on the UBC Women in Computer Science Club, and I've also previously been an executive on the UBC Biomedical Engineering student team, design team. So yeah, I have a pretty wide variety of experience, also in co-op. So if you want, you can check us out, like Erin mentioned, on those socials listed on the screen previously, where myself and my teammates, we kind of show a variety of different aspects of student life, from like day in our lives to answering specific questions that you can ask us in the comment sections of our videos. We also show student features featuring different engineering students across UBC Vancouver and Okanagan. And also, just to quickly mention, we do have two content creators who are from the Okanagan campus. So that's a really great opportunity to kind of get a look into student life, both on the Okanagan and then also the Vancouver campus. We also do Instagram takeovers. I'm pretty sure it's about every single day. One of us will be on there kind of showing you guys, taking you guys along our day. And often we will put little question boxes up there. So that's a great opportunity if you want to ask any one of us a specific question about our program or the campus that we study at or anything like that. Yeah, and another great opportunity is you can, as Erin mentioned, you can message myself or I think anyone else here on the who are ambassadors if you want to chat further. But yeah, come check us out on Eng Stories. It's a really awesome place to connect with current students as well as in the comment section, possibly some prospective students to get to know each other before you come over here. I am so happy that I chose UBC Engineering. Kind of, I think Erin and Marie both mentioned. One of my favorite aspects of UBC Engineering is how diverse and international it is. I'm a firm believer that your network is just very important for your career, self-growth, and just like personal life. And I've been able to make best friends and great connections from people literally all over the world. And I don't think I would have really had that same opportunity if I was perhaps at a different university. So yeah, the student experience here is just really awesome. You get to meet people from all over, and it's great. So I hope to see you on our Eng Stories accounts. And yeah, have a great rest of the event.
Thanks so much, Hannah. All right, Tanya, I'll pass it over to you to start the panel.
Thank you, Erin. Now we are going to have a student panel session. So thanks, Stephen, Mayank, Katrina, and Helen for joining us today. Can you introduce yourself briefly, maybe starting from Stephen?
Sure thing, yep. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven, and I'm a mechanical engineering student at the UBC's Okanagan campus. I'm currently in my second year, and so I'm going to be doing a 5-year degree program. So I'm going to be doing not just the regular program. And I'm a member of a few design teams. So if anyone has questions about something like that, feel free to ask, and I'd be happy to answer them. I'm Mayank. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm a fourth year integrated engineering student. I'm on my co-op year right now, so working for 16 months after taking a break from classes. And I've been a part of two design teams, a club, the Engineering Undergraduate Society, and the Integrated Engineering Council. So if you got any questions about getting involved in those areas, let me know.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katrina, and I'm a third-year biomedical engineering student at the Vancouver campus. Like the other two that I've already spoken, I have also done co-op. I just finished an 8-month term. On campus, I'm also a part of a research team with one of the professors that I've had in the past. I've been a part of multiple clubs and have gotten experience with women in engineering too. So if you have any questions about women in engineering, clubs, or research, feel free to ask me during the presentation.
I'm Helen. I'm a fifth year in the civil engineering program at UBC Okanagan. And if you have any questions about co-op or participating in some clubs as well, you can feel free to ask.
Thank you. So my first question is, when you are starting a new chapter of university life, you might be worried about how to find your community. So can you share how was your experience when you first started coming into UBC? Was it stressful or easy to make your friend group? Katrina, do you want to share more about this?
Yeah, for sure. So UBC Vancouver has this great program called Jumpstart. So if you're coming to the Vancouver campus, I would totally suggest it. For me, it was kind of my way to feel more accustomed to campus life and meeting my friends. It's a week-long orientation that takes place right before school starts. So you get to move into residence if you're living in residence a week early. There is workshops every single day with your group of like 30 engineering students. You get to network with profs, and they get to teach you more about like what classes are like during the whole school year. And then in the evenings, there's social events. So they have like sports, movie nights, a bunch of games. So for me, that was just the way that I got to meet my first year friend group. I met my friends on like the first 3 days, and we were friends through the entire school year, and I'm still in contact with them now. So I found a great way to kind of slowly get into university without having to worry about courses and the stress sometimes that can bring. So it was definitely a great way to kind of get accustomed to UBC.
Being a transfer student, because I transferred from a post-secondary institution that covered my first year, it's like I'm going into second year, but it's like my first year. It feels like a first year at least. So that's kind of how it felt like adjusting to it. So I think one of the best ways that it would help people to try to reach out to others during the first year of university study is just to like kind of put yourself out there and try to see how many people you can contact and try to access as many resources as possible. It can be difficult to do this sometimes. So another thing that people could do is try to join a club or a design team, and then try to commit to it and show your enthusiasm for something that you're interested in. And people will take notice at UBC of that. And that's a great way to make friends, I think.
So my next question is, extracurricular activities can really be a good start to make friends and gain hands-on experience. So I want to hear more about how was it like to be involved in activities outside of the class. Helen, you want to share some?
One of the activities I've been doing right now is with the Civil Engineering Club. I reactivated the club last year. So we've been doing a bunch of events with like talks with the industry people and some study nights. So we just get together with other engineering students to study or work on assignments together, which is really fun. And now we're also participating in the Canadian Steel Bridge competition. So we're working on the design of this bridge, and it's a great way to get some hands-on as well. So yeah.
I've worked in 2 different companies for about 8 months each, and I've got a great chance to figure out what those industries are like and take a step back from school, apply everything you learn in classes, and see the impact of the work that you're doing in engineering. For the first like 3 years of my degree, I didn't exactly know what engineering was, even though I was studying it. And with just being in a company surrounded by industry professionals really helped me figure out what it means to be an engineer and like the challenges that people face in that, and all the changes that you can make in those roles. So yeah.
Thank you. Katrina, do you have anything else to add on?
Yeah, I think for this, I would just say when anything you're interested in, just look it up at UBC. There are hundreds and hundreds of clubs at UBC. For me, I was interested in research, so I actually contacted one of my professors in my second year, kind of just like interested in it, and I actually am now still volunteering in her lab. So if there is anything that you're ever interested in, I would say just search it online or ask any of your like professors, because they're always really welcome to like have a chat and help you out.
On the spectrum of super collaborative and competitive, where do you guys think UBC engineering land?
Like our engineering program is like definitely wants all students to succeed, not only academically, but in their future careers. So the courses are designed to be a lot more collaborative, like with many projects focus on teamwork and problem solving. So we're not only exposed to the technical engineering tools, but we get to develop like our soft skills as well. So yeah, definitely like very collaborative.
And the next question is, UBC has two beautiful campuses, both Okanagan and Vancouver. So can you share about one thing that you really like about your campus?
My favorite thing is just how much nature and everything is around. I'm someone who just likes to take a break from studying and just like kind of step back. And so one of my friends has a place that's on the 17th floor in one of the residences. And so every so often when I get stressed, I'll just kind of stand on the balcony that he has and look outside, and just being able to see the entire campus and like the beach and the Pacific Spirit Forest. It's just so relaxing. And so I think my favorite thing about UBC Vancouver is definitely just like the nature and how relaxing it can be when you're feeling a little bit stressed or needing a step back from your studies.
I think one of my favorite things about the Okanagan campus is their large environments for actually getting some hands-on engineering experience. So they have very large workshops all around campus, such as the Makerspace, which lets you prototype anything you want for free. They even let you buy some things on behalf of UBC just to send them in there, and then you could prototype anything you want, from personal projects to academic projects. A lot of the design teams here also have very large workshops to work in. So for example, OK Motorsports, which is a UBC Formula student team, has a dedicated workshop to build their race cars, and so does the UBC Aerospace Club. So having those rooms to actually work in is great for actually building up experience to earn a co-op job and then getting a job after graduation.
There is a question that what are the difference between club and teams? Does anyone want to explain more about how is it like different from clubs and design team?
Yeah, so design teams are essentially a group of students working together on weekends, evenings, whenever they get time from their classes to work on big projects that typically it's just not feasible for one person to do. So these include rockets, these include like Formula One cars, they can include building a house, they can include like something like this in every single discipline that exists. Whereas clubs are a little, clubs can be a little less technical in that sense, but they also provide you with a lot of leadership, managerial skills. They teach you how to work together collaboratively. And there are teams like Engineers for a Sustainable World and Engineers Without Borders that do great work. So if you're interested in any of those, you can check out their websites and get involved. Yeah.
Next question is, how was it like balancing school workload and clubs or any other extracurricular?
The first thing I would suggest is don't go crazy in your first year. I came from kind of a really, really busy schedule in high school, came into university and thought I could tackle everything at the same time. And while I definitely could, it was a little bit more overwhelming and I wasn't able to kind of get into some of the activities I wanted. So I'd say take your first year a little bit slower. So do your schoolwork and find one or two things that you really, really want to do. And so for me, I actually was a part of the engineering stories team in my first year. And that was kind of my little thing on the side. And I did some research with my professor. I think just finding one or two things outside of your studies is always a great way for you to have a break, but it also just allows you to like keep up with your hobbies or your interests while you're at university.
Next question, there is interesting questions about the clubs. So what are the possibilities that come with clubs that have a direct exposure to real world experience?
The nice thing about design teams is that they let you actually experience how to work in a pretty professional environment. So the way these design teams work is a lot of the students that are in the management positions have already had a co-op with employers. And the things that you do there is very relevant to actual work experience. So if you're building a Formula style race car, it's obviously going to be just like actually building a Formula One race car. And so you can actually directly apply that to your job, for example. Also, because of the way that these clubs work is a lot of companies actually sponsor them. So oftentimes these companies will come to the club and then pick out some students so that they can actually go and do a co-op internship with them where they can apply what they've learned in that design team.
The next question is, will professor meet students outside of class or hold office hours?
All professors have office hours, and you can always just email them and maybe schedule like extra meetings with them. I do have a couple. One of my favorite professors is from first year, Dr. Tahiri. He teaches engineering and design, like drawings, like technical drawings and stuff. So there's a little competition in the first year, and he makes it really, really fun.
And regarding the class, there is also another questions about class structure. So how long is the class, and is it more lecture-based or self-study based?
So in your first year, most of your classes will be about 50 minutes. And most of your classes are lecture-based. They will have components, what we call eye clickers. So these are kind of like online quizzes. The prof will put like a question on the board. You'll have time to answer it, and it gives you time to see how much you're actually retaining of the information and like where you stand. I think to classes like AppSci 100 and AppSci 101, they have lecture components, but then they also have these like tutorials and lab components that are a great way for you to apply that like knowledge in a hands-on way. I'd say a lot of the courses that do have labs, that's the best way, or at least I found, for me to actually see how my classroom knowledge could be applied in that practical way. And then see kind of where like degree or program wise or like specialty wise I was interested in.
And the other questions is, what type of design projects do we do over the whole course?
In first year, you work on multiple small projects. So one of those, one of the really fun ones is a cardboard chair. So in term one, right out in September, you start working on a cardboard chair that you actually sit on. You work in like groups of 4 to 6 people, and you gotta prove that people can build it very easily in like a few seconds, and it can actually support your weight. So it's like a very fun competition. I took it online, so I made a miniature model. It was still fun, but I feel very jealous of the people that did it in person, because you get into this one room on for your lecture, and everyone is there building their cardboard chairs and sitting on them, and you'll see so many people like fail as soon as they sit on it. But it's a lot of fun. And another one that you do in term two is a claw. So you take sheet metal, you use Arduinos, you use like a bunch of other electronics and mechanical components, and you build a claw. So that's supposed to go down, and you grab things, you pick it up, and you move it to some other place, and you drop it down. So you got different challenges to do, and the most difficult one I think is a soda can. So if you can lift that and pass it over the barrier, then you're pretty much guaranteed full marks.
Also, other question is, how did you find what specialty do you want?
I was in first year, I decided to go with mechanical engineering because it was such a broad program. It covered lots of things, and this mechanical engineering studies how different machines work in motion. And I think that's really fascinating. It also is very close to an aerospace degree because there is an aerospace option, and I would do a full aerospace degree, but since UBC doesn't offer that at the moment, a mechanical aerospace degree might be actually a better option for employability at the end of the graduation.
So the degree that I'm doing is called integrated engineering. It's a multidisciplinary program where you take courses from other traditional engineering disciplines. So you take courses from mechanical, from chemical, from electrical, computer, biomedical, and like mining, geological, everything. And then you specialize in something niche that you're interested in. So you have technical electives that you take to meet those requirements. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing in first year. So do a lot of other people. So, which is why it's so nice that you have this 1 year to think about what you want to do, and you get to talk to upper years. We have program fairs, we have open houses, we have something called the club room crawl that the EUS runs, which is a phenomenal way to get to meet students. Every engineering program has a club room space, like a hangout space where people study, work. You'll find people there at 2 a.m., pretty much any hour. of the day, and you get to go to each of those club rooms and talk to upper year students directly about what their experiences have been like, what the program is like. And yeah, I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I kind of ended up in integrated engineering because I wanted to explore everything in a little more detail. And then I realized that the program that I applied to, which is computer engineering for all other schools, along with UBC, is something that I don't like. And I am currently doing a specialization in mechanical and materials engineering, which I would never have found if I didn't come to UBC and go through this first year and take random courses through iGen.
What are some ways to prepare for academic rigor at UBC?
I think the biggest tip for me is to just know where your resources are, whether that's at UBC or like certain YouTube videos or certain things like that. I think coming into UBC, I was lucky that I had an experience in high school where my professors kind of like overloaded us with the resources and ways that we could get help during our degree if we were falling behind. I think too, just like knowing what your strengths are and kind of identifying that before so that you know what you can spend more time on during your actual student experience. Engineering Stories does have a lot of study tips and like anything like that. So I would go to the TikTok, go to the YouTube videos from past years and go see those.
What is the maximum number of class everybody has attended in a year?
Actually, the maximum I've taken was 5 courses a semester. And that I'm gonna add a little tip as well. I found that like taking it slow was a really good way to use like all the opportunities we have available as undergrad students. So that's why like I've taken 5 years instead of 4, and that's not counting co-op. So that's why I was able to take only 5 courses. And I can do a lot more and be part of all the things I wanted, like all these clubs and competitions and the extracurricular stuff, without panicking.
To wrap up for our student panel, the last question that I'm going to ask for each of you is if you can talk a little bit about like, what do you do for fun? Do you leave campus on the weekends? Do you go into Vancouver or into downtown Kelowna? Is that commute easy? Kind of what do you do to sort of like de-stress outside of engineering? So if you can think of like what maybe your favorite thing to do is. I will also plug Engineering Stories again because there are lots of videos talking about what our students do on the weekend. They also do takeovers on Instagram multiple days a week, so you can see like what their life is actually like, what they're doing on the weekends. So maybe Mayank, if you want to start before you log off today, of kind of what is your favorite thing to do outside of engineering to de-stress or hang out with friends? What do you love to do?
Since last semester, I've started doing intramurals over the weekend, so that's been a ton of fun. I didn't get a lot of time to play sports, and now it's so nice to go back. And I'm so tired every Sunday. But other than that, I've been part of design teams, so I've spent my weekends working there, volunteering there. I volunteer with the EUS, so a lot of my time goes there, and we have this little room for all volunteers called Society where we hang out and just finish our work and do things. And a lot of my time also goes towards the iGen Council and improving the community that way. So I'll leave my email and Instagram in the chat if you guys are interested in reaching out about any of those things. By all means, I'm happy to chat about it.
I am actually a student athlete, so I'm not gonna lie. I just use because I play volleyball in the varsity team, so I just use that as my hobby on the side as well because that's pretty much a full-time job. But then in the summer, I also love playing volleyball, some more volleyball, and going to the beach. Yeah, it's awesome.
Personally, I kind of just work on more engineering projects. I chose engineering because I love it. I'd highly recommend people in going into UBC engineering to kind of like find a hobby that is not hard to get out of because you'll realize like, oh, classes are over and you have nothing to do because you've been doing only classes for the past like 5 months. So having a hobby that you can get back into very quickly is a huge bonus.
Last semester, I was actually part of a dance team called Dance Horizons. So on Sundays, I would spend like 3 to 4 hours in rehearsals for that. And then my friends and I love doing like weekly cafe hops. So once a week, sometimes we'll usually go off campus, and transit is really, really easy. It's usually like 20 to 30 minutes wherever we're going, and find a new cafe to like study in and like get food. And usually it's like my friends and I are more food driven people. So it's like we're usually trying to find like a cafe or a restaurant to go to. And Vancouver is huge. So there's like endless possibilities of where we go. And I think so far we've visited like 15 different cafes and like 20 something different restaurants over our like 2+ years. So it's like our thing is always like food or like going downtown.
So the first question that I see upvoted is a little bit about what are the teaching methods at UBCO? Is it more hands-on, recording, reading books, a mix of it all? And so this is going to be fairly similar for both UBCO and UBC Vancouver. But Marie, do you want to talk a little bit about what that experience looks like in terms of the different resources students are utilizing?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, it's going to be like dependent on the course that you're taking. I mean, students take a mix of more technical courses and a mix of those hands-on courses, right? So that's really the point, to gain that theoretical knowledge you need to go into your engineering degree, but also really um, provide opportunities for you to be creative and innovative and apply that knowledge to design something, because that's really what engineers do. We design things to make an impact and change on the world. So for courses, just for an example, some of them you're going to be referencing textbooks. Typically, those are online textbooks now. Sometimes you can still find those paper copies. And then like a lot of math-based, physics-based. And then in those hands-on courses, that's when you're like one of the student panelists said, they built a cardboard chair. So very hands-on, using materials, constructing and testing, working together as a team. And those design courses are are each year throughout your degree. So you will get opportunities to have that hands-on design. If you're really someone that likes that hands-on, I also recommend that you join a design club, you go into research, you find those additional opportunities to take the skills you're learning in your courses and directly apply them.
So the next question is it easy to get into the co-op program, and how competitive is the program? So co-op is actually relatively easy to get into. About half of our students choose to participate in the co-op program, and co-op typically admits about 75% of the students that are applying to co-op every year. Now, once you're in the co-op program, you do need to apply for those jobs still. So you're not automatically assigned a job once you're in the co-op program, but you do have advisors that support you through the whole process of how to write a resume, how to go to an interview, and all those sorts of pieces. Your first placement is typically going to be the hardest one to get, just in terms of most competition, probably having to go through the most interviews. But for that one, again, your co-op advisors will support you. If for some reason you didn't find a job in the term that you were planning to find a job, they'll help you work around that and shuffle your classes and your co-op term around. So they're really supportive in making sure that you are able to access what you need. Co-op also has co-op job boards. So some of those jobs are only going to be posted for co-op students. And so that's really unique as well, that that you'll be able to have access to those specific jobs that are just being posted for co-op students at UBC. The co-op program is actually also the same program across both campuses for engineering. So you don't have to worry about are students in Vancouver given more jobs than Okanagan or anything like that, because it's the same job board, it's the same office that works with students from both campuses. There's a question about how different is first year engineering compared to grade 12 in high school, and that's always going to be hard to answer. Marie, do you have any recommendations of how students can kind of support themselves transitioning from grade 12 into first year?
Sure. So like Aaron said, I mean, every student's experience will be different from the high school that they came from, and depending on what city you've come from. The biggest thing that I know first year students have shared with me about this transition from high school to first year is really getting accustomed to university life while taking your courses. Because for a lot of students, they're moving away from home, they're living on their own for their first time. a lot of times in a different city. So being able to have time management, being able to balance your courses, balance some time for yourself, as well as all these other new things like cooking and cleaning and doing your laundry. So I think really thinking about, what your daily life is going to be like, and just being prepared to be flexible and adaptable, and really looking at how you're doing throughout the term. We have advisors at both campuses, so if you're feeling you need to reduce your course load or make a change because this isn't working for you, or maybe you want to join a design club because you have some free time, we're here to help you throughout that experience. The other big tips I get from first year students is really time management, organization, and having enough time to prepare for your midterms and finals, because a lot of times this is some of students' first time taking a midterm or a final in a large room with lots of students. So, asking questions about how you can prepare for that experience.
Um, Thanks, Marie. So the next question is, how safe is UBCO? Are there any dangers in the dorms or facilities?
That's a great question. And I think that's a question that many students have when they're coming to any campus or any institution, is they want to know where they're staying is safe. So I'm going to answer this from like my personal experience at the UBC Okanagan campus. So I feel very safe at the UBC Okanagan campus. There are many like safety measures in place for students, staff, and faculty. So we have things like safe walk. So, if you are out, or like you have a late class and you want to walk back to your dorms, you can call Safe Walk and they will walk with you to your dorms if that makes you more comfortable. We have phones across campus. So if there is something like a situation that you need to report, they're there for you to pick up and call for assistance. These are not there because there are dangers. They're there so that students have different levels, or different, they have for different levels of what you feel safe and what makes you feel comfortable on campus. So from my experience, the dorms are safe and there are resident advisors on your floor. So if you have any questions, you can go to them. If you have any concerns, you can go to them. And we have a lot of supports on campus, like security and your advisors as well, if you have any questions at all.
Thanks, Miriam. And I'll second that for the Vancouver campus as well, in case anyone is wondering there. A lot of the same, it's the same university, so we're going to have a lot of the same kind of systems in place, same support. So same thing with in terms of the residences, that you have residence advisors there. There's campus security around as well. We have the blue phones throughout campus, which you can pick up and call, and someone from campus security will come and help you. There is Safe Walk as well. So if you are worried about walking somewhere when it's dark out, you can call Safe Walk. They'll send student volunteers, a pair of student volunteers, to come meet you wherever you are, and they'll walk you to wherever you're going, whether that's residence or wherever you need to go to. They'll actually even take you short ways off campus as well, and they'll travel with you to make sure that you're getting to where you need to go safely. So there's lots of ways to feel safe on campus, but I would say both UBC Vancouver and UBC Okanagan, in terms of campuses, are very safe. And both of them are kind of a little bit separated from the main cities. You still have to travel a bit to get to downtown Kelowna. You still have to travel a bit to get to downtown Vancouver. And so on campus itself is going to be very safe. You'll feel safe for sure. Obviously, like make sure you watch your belongings. Don't leave your laptop alone by itself in the library, and take your basic precautions like that. But otherwise, safety on campus is not something that most students would be very concerned with, and they do feel quite safe. And again, there's lots of resources, like Marie mentioned, that if you have concerns or anything like that, that we're able to assist you with. So there's a question, again, similar to what we had already mentioned, but it says, I reached out to the admissions office after getting acceptance from UBCO. They said I can accept my offer and switch my acceptance to UBC Vancouver and pay my deposit there once I get an offer from UBC Vancouver. Could you give more info on this? So again, you have to accept your offer by the deadline. Your deadline is probably going to be a little bit away, so make sure that you are checking what that deadline is, and chances are that you're going to have an offer. If you're going to get an offer to Vancouver campus, you're probably going to have that before the deadline to accept your offer. So you can wait and see as well. But when you go through the system to accept your offer, you're paying a tuition deposit, and that's going to be the same fee no matter which campus you're going to. So it's not a different fee that you would have to be concerned about or anything like that. If you have more questions in terms of when it actually comes time to accept your offer and pay that tuition deposit, we'll be sending out more information about that. You'll get more information from UBC directly, and there will be more information on the website as well of how to exactly do that. But at this time, you can hold on to that offer, decide on which one you want to accept, and when it comes time to accept your offer, you can do that. The next question I see is it easy to switch between different types of engineering? So I think one of the real benefits of coming to UBC Engineering at either Vancouver or the Okanagan is that foundational first year. So you're really going to be exposed to all of the different types of engineering that we offer in your first year so that you can make a really educated choice of which program you're going to go into. It's not always going to be the easiest to switch between programs after your second year. It is possible in a lot of cases, but it may mean that you're spending more time in school because you are missing some courses. It may depend on which programs you're trying to switch between. It may depend on your grades. It may depend on the space in the program and all sorts of different things. It's definitely something that we do have students do from time to time. But I think taking the time in your first year to really understand what all of our programs are, you're going to get the opportunity to talk with all of the programs. You're going to get the opportunity to talk with students in those programs, to talk with different professors in those programs, to learn more about what some of the courses are and things like that. So you'll have lots of opportunities to really explore that and to determine which engineering program is going to be the best for you.
And this is very similar at the Okanagan campus because we have that foundational first year. We do have some courses in second year that are still common across most of our programs. But if students are looking to switch in their second year, typically you need to take some more courses. At the Okanagan campus, you're guaranteed the program of your choice. So you can switch into another program if you decide to. But yeah, it may just extend your degree just a little bit. And Aaron, there's one that's like sort of related to this that I thought would be nice to flow into next. And it's, would you recommend taking 4 or 5 years to finish your degree? Plus co-op could be 5 or 6 years. So what are the thoughts on sort of spreading out your time? I know that our panelists sort of touched on this in different ways today, depending on their background. But at the Okanagan campus, we do have a 4-year and 5-year degree program for our students. And this provides students with an opportunity to have a pre-set out degree plan that is 5 years at a reduced course load. And what that means is you have 5 courses per term if you're in a 5-year degree plan. And if you're in a 4-year degree plan, you have 6 courses per term. A lot of students will opt for this 5-year degree plan so that they do have time to join a design club or do research or play sports outside of their degree. And this person is correct. If you do co-op, that will add a year onto your degree. So if you're in a 5-year degree plan, then you will plus co-op would be 6 years. Students, I saw a few asking about co-op and international exchanges. So yes, there's opportunities to add on all these different amazing aspects to your degree, but it can just extend the length. Remember that it's not necessarily about the number of years that you're in our program, it's the experiences you're gaining out of it, and is that leading towards sort of your career or your path after you graduate. Pass it over to you, Erin, if you have anything to add for Vancouver.
Yeah, I think in terms of Vancouver, it is possible to spread out your degree for sure. We do highly recommend speaking with an advisor to make sure that you are still taking the right courses that you need to, because some are going to be a prerequisite for the next year. So working with an advisor closely just to make sure that you are not jeopardizing your progression throughout your degree. But it's definitely possible to lighten that course load a little bit and spread it out. In first year at the Vancouver campus, we do recommend taking the full first year course load because most of those are going to be prerequisites for your second year. But once you get into second year, then it is a little bit easier, depending on your program, to kind of spread out those courses a little bit more as well. You can take some summer courses too to lighten your course load during the school year. And then again, co-op is always going to add a year to your degree, so similar there.
Aaron, I'm also seeing like quite a few questions about residence. So I don't know if we want to maybe like touch on that again quickly. There was quite a few inquiries about if students should be applying for residence now or waiting for their offer to apply for residence. Not specific to Okanagan or Vancouver. What I've been responding to students is that there is an opportunity that you can start your application before you receive your offer at both the Vancouver and Okanagan campuses. But if you are a first-year student or an incoming first-year student and you meet the requirements for first-year guaranteed placement, you do have till May 1st to apply. However, if you know you're coming, feel free to start that application and get that going. If you do not meet that first-year guarantee guidelines that are on the websites for Vancouver and Okanagan housing, then we definitely recommend you apply as soon as possible. That opened on February 1st, so you definitely want to get your applications in if you don't meet that first year guarantee for housing at either campus.
Yes, exactly. So just make sure, as long as you are coming into first year, that you're applying by May 1st. It doesn't have to be right now, it can be later. The application for residence is pretty simple, and it's a pretty small application fee as well. So if you're wanting to just get that out of the way now, I would recommend it, because if you are trying to apply after May 1st, you may be out of luck at that point for residence. So do make sure that you are applying for sure before May 1st.
I see, Aaron, here, there's a question about like average class sizes in first year engineering on both campuses, probably trying to get a feel of like the different sizes between campuses and the experience they'd have. I can start by answering for the Okanagan campus. I'll pass over to you for Vancouver. For the Okanagan campus, our incoming class size is around 400 first year students. We have some lectures that have all 400 students in the one lecture, and then most of the lectures, which is when you're learning the content from your professor, has about 100 to 200 students. And then outside of lecture time, you have things called labs or tutorials, and those are smaller group based, usually anywhere between 20 or 30 students. And that's where you get to work on projects and sort of solve problems related to your lecture.
Yeah, for Vancouver campus, our largest class is going to be about 250 students, and that's really based on the lecture hall size. Anytime that you have a large lecture, though, you're going to have a smaller studio or lab or tutorial, and that's usually going to be closer to 50 to 60 students, where you're going to get more one-on-one time with either your prof or your instructor or your TA, depending on what course that is. So yeah, 250 is really the maximum lecture size that you'll see at the Vancouver campus. And then with those larger ones, you'll have smaller ones, or smaller components of that class. As you get into your later years, you may have classes as small as 10 students, and that could be at either campus, depending on what program you're in, depending on what you're studying. So it really depends on the year, but first year maximum is probably going to be about 250 or so.